Okay, so I have chosen to analyze the subject we watched in class called Two Strangers Meet Five Times. It is a short film directed by Marcos Macu, and it's about 12 minutes long. Um, the movie or the short film is about two strangers, one called Sammy, and the other one called Alistair. Sammy is uh has a different background. He's not the typical white Briton. He's from India, I would say. Whereas Alistair is the typical redheaded white Briton man. These are two strangers who have met. These are the two strangers we are talking about in the title, who have met five times randomly by chance in their life as they go on. The first encounter we meet is their second meeting, um, because there's their first one is like a plot twist later in the movie or in the short film. But the first one we see an encounter at one of the bank payment where you can like rent money, um, where Sam or Alistair comes off as being this stereotypical racist man towards Sammy, who's just trying to get his money. Um, which is already here the conflict starts between them, because as we move on to the second meeting, um, we see that Sammy is actually a CEO of a company that Alistair wants to um, work at. So the second meeting is at the job interview where Alistair is applying for some sort of work at his firm. Where Sammy instantly realizes that this is Alistair, this is the guy who called me racist slurs, and this backfires completely for Alistair as he does not get the job because of what he did to Sammy earlier. This is also a symbol of karma, and this is also something that builds up to the rest of the short film. Because at their third meeting, um, we see Alistair. He's older. We can see that it's a different time. Is probably after the job interview, and because he didn't get it, he is now a homeless man on the street begging for money. So, because of his act in the first meeting, we assume that it karma got to him by the job interview, and that now he's homeless. So the jobs have or the places have switched between them. This is also a symbol of the economic inequality in Britain, as we see Sammy, who's well off and has the money he needs, and Alistair is now poor and a homeless man. But this economic equality is also just a consequence for what Alistair did in the first place. But as we see this interaction, it's on a street corner. I don't know, maybe it's close to the money laundry, uh, or not money laundry, but the payment machine. We also see the kind or their characters develop more as we see how Sammy now acts towards Alistair, who in the first place was very rude to him and called him racist slurs. And now we see the more emotional complexity that comes from both characters. And the moment becomes uncomfortable for viewers as the conflict between them is very unsaid. They don't speak about it. And we can see Samir, who's torn between if he wants to act with kindness and give Alfie the money, life changing money, or if he chooses to seek revenge for his own sake, um, and leave Alistair, as also a a consequence of what Alistair did. But Samir chooses to leave the past behind and act with kindness and responsibility, and he knows he's in the place to change Alistair's life, so he does it. Um, and it becomes a shared emotional atmosphere as we now see the social border between the two men is broken. Um, because Alistair is now in a place where he doesn't see race, he doesn't see anything else than just Samir as an opportunity to help him get better and change his life, which is also, it's a gut-wrenching moment because we know that it would be so satisfying to see Alistair get what he deserves. But of course, also a very beautiful moment because Samir acts with the kindness he does. Um, and Alistair's guilt is broken also. He doesn't have anything because he's the one being judged by Samir now. Um, and the power balance is just completely reversed, which also lead us to their fourth meeting, which is their first meeting actually, that shows how they've actually met before all of these three meetings, which come in a chronological order. But their fourth meeting is actually in the sand in a kindergarten, I assume, or in a park, where Alistair and Samir are playing with each other. They're about 3 years old. And we see this beautiful moment, which also symbolizes how race is something that is, or racism is something that is taught in the childhood, and that's something that comes natural to us. Because this beautiful moment is broken by Alistair's mom taking Alistair away and says, "Oh, you don't get dirty or don't play with him," because he has a different ethnicity than Alistair himself. And uh, this is also a symbol of how racism uh, is, of course, something that is taught in the childhood, and it's something that you're raised with, because Alistair or Samir doesn't have the same emotion or the same prejudice towards Alistair. It could be different, of course. Samir could have been racist to Alistair, but he doesn't, which also shows his character, or shows how he's always been kind and he's not taught or he's not brought up with racism. And this moment also reflects on how Alistair is in his or in the future, how he acts toward it. And this is also like really a plot twist in the short film, because we see that they've met before, which also lead us to their last meeting, which is also the fifth meeting, which the setting is in a nursery home where Samir is a patient. He's old, he can't express himself, and he can't talk, he's nonverbal, and he needs a companion to be with him, which is where Alistair is hired to sit and speak with him and be his friend. And now we can see they're both equal, and this scene also has something to interpret in the way that, do they know each other? They're old men and their last meeting was maybe 40 years ago, but can they acknowledge each other, or not acknowledge, but can they recognize each other? And it also ends with the movie ending in such a important moment, because now they're both equal, and Alistair doesn't have the same judgment towards Samir anymore, which also shows how he knows now that his acts has consequences, and now Samir taught him how to act with kindness, and that the racism between them is broken.